Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Amelia and here on this channel we talk about writing, journaling, and productivity to help you curate a life that you love. So if you're like me, you probably have a dozen or more empty notebooks just laying around your house that you don't really use. And I thought that it would be kind of nice to give you guys some ideas on how to fill empty notebooks or blank notebooks that you don't really know what to do with. So the first idea for how to fill a notebook that you have laying around is to use it as a place for free journaling. Now, free journaling, as far as my definition goes, is just like a stream of consciousness journaling. I journal pretty much every night this way, sometimes in the mornings when it comes to free journaling. Typically my mornings revolve around prompts or other things, but stream of consciousness journaling is a great way to kind of let go of your thoughts, to really jot down what you're thinking about, what's on your mind, what's weighing on your heart, and really just let it out on the page. It doesn't have to be beautiful or poetic, it doesn't have to be pretty. Instead, it can be a rant, or it can be sort of like a diary entry to how your day is going, how your week is going, what you're afraid of, what you are apprehensive about, or what you really desire. I really enjoy stream of consciousness journaling, mostly because it just kind of offers me a way to let my thoughts onto the page, and it's a really great way to sort through things that I may be struggling with. If you haven't already, I definitely recommend you check out one of my blog posts on mental health journaling because it kind of covers another reason as to why free journaling is so beneficial to you and your psyche. A big reason is because journaling is part of a therapy called CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, which I've mentioned before on this channel, and it helps you to kind of recognize distortions, negative thought patterns, and toxic habits and traits that you may be incorporating into your daily life. So I really enjoy free journaling, and I think it's a great way to fill up an empty notebook, if not just to fill it up, but also to help you spiritually and heal your mind. So the second idea for how to fill up a empty notebook is to make a bullet journal. Now, you're gonna think I'm a little crazy, but I think you can still bullet journal with lined notebooks as well. Before I bought my dotted notebook, which honestly wasn't too expensive, I actually didn't have money to spare. Over the summer, I was in a really bad financial rut, and I ended up using a lined notebook as a bullet journal, and it worked just fine. While the art did seem a little strange with it, I was still capable of making boxes and really making an agenda that worked for me to set up my day the way I wanted to go. While I do like store-bought agendas, I've also found that bullet journals are amazing ways to create an agenda that really works and suits to your needs. So I highly recommend that you get into bullet journaling, even if it's just simple lines and creating task lists to make it really minimalistic, but you can also add art. And if you have a blank notebook or a blank art journal that you don't use anymore, bullet journaling is a really great way to be more productive while also implementing that artistic and creative side to yourself. The third way to fill an empty notebook is to use it as a place for a brain dump or outline or lists. I love lists, and I've talked about it so many times, but I actually have a notebook that I'm currently using as I give this video speech. I always outline my video in this notebook so that way I know where I'm going and I'm staying on track. And in this notebook there are dozens of pages of brain dumps of ideas, brainstorming, outlines for books or videos or blog posts, lists of things I want to do, or things I want to accomplish. There's just a lot that goes in here, and it's really nice to have it all in one space. The reason that I really like having a separate notebook for brain dumping aside from my bullet journal or my regular journal is because then all my ideas are in one place, and if I ever want to go back, I can just go there rather than flipping through journal entries or flipping through my agenda. So it's really nice to have a journal just for brain dumping, and I think it also shows kind of how messy our minds are, and it helps me to organize my thoughts. So I highly, highly recommend that you do that. The next type of journal that you could have is a story journal, and this is mostly aimed toward my writers out there, or anybody who really enjoys telling story or being creative. But even if you haven't done this before, I definitely recommend that you get a journal and you start using it to write down little stories or scenes or dialogues. I think that writing story is a great way to kind of connect that human experience. For thousands of years, humans have done oral storytelling or just telling stories to each other as a way of entertainment and understanding the world. And I think that by following our ancestors' footsteps, you can also write your own stories. They never have to see the light of day. They don't have to be perfect. Nobody has to read them except for you, but it's a really great way to get creative and kind of experiment with your writing style and your tone of voice and just your ideas that you have in your mind in general. And you never know. You may fall in love with writing and you may want to write a book someday, which is usually what happens to me, so here we are. The fifth way to fill a notebook is to use gratitude and affirmations. So I typically do these at different times. My affirmations tend to be more morning centric and my gratitude tends to be an evening activity, but I put both in my regular journal just because I like to do it that way, but you don't have to. If you really want, you could have a separate journal for gratitude and affirmations. And I think that putting these down, like writing down what you're grateful for, writing down what you want to do and accomplish is more impactful than just thinking it. I found that writing down gratitude lists and writing down what I'm grateful for each day has helped me to be a more positive person. I struggle with depression and other mental health issues, and I found that just writing down the things I'm grateful for has greatly reduced my toxic mindset and negative thought patterns by enlightening me to what I have and what I really enjoy in life. Similarly, affirmations become more concrete when I write them down versus just thinking them. So when I can write something like, I want to travel to Europe someday, I can maybe add a definitive date to that eventually, but the idea is that when I write it down, it becomes more real, and it's more likely that I'll be able to do it because I'll have it written down and it'll be more tangible than just a thought floating around in my mind. The sixth way that you can fill your notebook is by writing down notes from things that you have learned or lectures or etc. I think it's kind of crazy that a lot of people have a really negative mindset on learning, and I think a big part of that is just because of the public school system, because college is really taxing and a lot of hard work, but if you have the time or if you are interested, I highly recommend that you start learning things on your own that have nothing to do with school curriculum. Personally, I like learning about personal growth, I like learning about communication, I also really enjoy ancient human societies, and so I love reading books about that, and I found that taking notes about the things I read helps me to remember it and recall that information later. I really like taking notes, I really like learning, so for me it's not too hard to kind of separate school and what I actually enjoy, but if you can, I highly recommend that you go watch an informative YouTube video or TED Talk or something that inspires you about a topic that you genuinely are interested in, and then put your notes down on paper because you're more likely to retain that information later when you write it down. It's also just really cool to organize a notebook with all of your notes, and I think that it looks really nice in the end. Alright, the seventh way to fill your empty notebook is to create a spiritual or religious journal. Personally, I'm spiritual, so I actually have a journal where I've jotted down moon phases, tarot readings, horoscope things, and other more spiritual writings that pertain to my personal beliefs. However, no matter what your religion or spirituality, I think that having a journal like this is so beneficial to who you are as a person, and it's kind of nice to connect to your deities in this way. I grew up in a very Christian neighborhood and environment, so I know a lot of Christian friends who have these journals where they will write down pieces of scripture from the Holy Bible, and they will, write down their thoughts and journal about passages pertaining to God or Jesus or other stories that really impact them. And I think that no matter what your religion, this can be truly beneficial and life-changing for you because it not only gets you closer to your deities, but also helps you better understand your own religion, your own beliefs, and really inspires you to think beyond yourself for a second. And I think that having a spiritual journal or a religious journal of any sort is a really great way to connect to who you are, to your values, and to grow as a person. The eighth way that you can fill an empty notebook is by creating an art journal. Personally, I'm not an artist, but I do think that for the artists out there or people who love doodling, having an art journal can really help you grow artistically and creatively. I used to have an art journal back in high school, so that is what you're seeing on the screen, but this particular journal has a lot of sketches of ideas of things I wanted to draw, of little shapes and doodles and things that I wanted to implement into bigger pieces. And I think that having an art journal really helps you to kind of navigate your artistic side and to plan out things that you want to paint or create or draw or whatever in any medium that you choose, and it gives you a nice foundation for brainstorming and brain dumping, similarly to the writing and written brain dump I mentioned earlier. Additionally, art journals are a great way to practice bullet journaling ideas. You can sketch out spreads, you can sketch little drawings to see what kinds of banners or plants or anything that you want to put in your journal. You can practice drawing them before putting them in there permanently, and I think it's a great way to just, again, hone your skill, so highly recommend. Alright, number 9 would probably be my favorite, aside from free journaling. I really like that too. But number 9 is to have a travel journal. If you haven't already, I posted a video on YouTube not that long ago. I'm not really sure when this video is coming out, but I posted a video about my travel journal to Costa Rica. And coming up, I do want to make another travel video, and I will bring you guys, I do want to make another travel journal, and I will bring you guys along with that process so you can see how I make one, and I want to do it for the Grand Canyon trip. Nevertheless, I think that a great way to fill a journal is to make a travel journal. You can print out photos, have scrapbooking paper, tape, stickers, you can write, you can do whatever you want. It's kind of like a scrapbook, but more so dedicated to travel. And honestly, I'll put scrapbooking in here as well. If you have an empty notebook lying around and you want to make it a scrapbook, by all means, go for it. I think that they're beautiful, they look stunning, and they're just so fun to make, and it allows you to really get creative with different pieces of paper and color and shape, and I absolutely love it. The 10th way to fill up an empty journal is to use guided prompts. So if you followed me for any time now, you know that I find guided prompts very helpful for journaling, as they kind of direct your thought pattern and your thought process. No matter if you're a beginner or even if you've been journaling for years, journal prompts are very helpful for, again, organizing your thoughts and pushing you to think beyond what you would normally think about. I do find 5-minute journals to be very helpful, so I have a blog post on that if you want to learn more about 5-minute journals that I recommend. And if you want ideas for journal prompts in general, I do have 100 free journal prompts that you can find that are linked down below if you sign up for my newsletter. It's not spammy, I just want to give you 100 free journal prompts, so yes. But that aside, I think that guided journaling, it goes right along with free journaling, except more focused on thinking through a question and really answering it to discover something about yourself or your life, and I absolutely love it. So if you want, definitely use one of your empty journals for journal prompts, and all you have to do is get those journal prompts, write them down, and then answer them, and it's a beautiful way to get into the habit of journaling. The 11th way that you can fill up these empty notebooks is by making a dream diary. I don't have one at the moment, but I used to, and I absolutely loved having a dream diary when I had one. But essentially, it's where you write down the contents of your dream. So you will start out by writing like a little paragraph about what you dreamt about, then go back and highlight key words and key nouns that popped up in your dream. For example, I had a dream last night, literally last night, where I parked my car and then I lost it because someone had stolen it. So I ran across the street and saw that the person had crashed the car into a lake. I don't know what that means for me, but if I were to do a dream diary on it, I would highlight the fact that I lost my car, the fact that my car was in it, maybe my surroundings if I noticed anything. I would highlight the word lake, and then I would go into a dream diary. I personally like dreammoods.com, but I don't know how updated they are. There are other opportunities. I'll try to link a few below that I think are really useful, but I would look up the word like car or lake in the dream dictionary, and I would see what it means, and then I would write down those keywords and the meanings to them next to it and see how it pertains to my waking life. And I think that dream diaries are really interesting because they illuminate parts of your subconscious that you don't really think about or acknowledge, and I absolutely find it not only informative, but entertaining as well. So if you want, I highly recommend that you keep a dream diary. It can be hard to get into a habit of it, but I do think it's kind of interesting. Alright, the 12th way that you can fill an empty notebook is by creating bucket lists. And I've mentioned this before, but bucket lists are pretty open-ended. You can have a bucket list for anything. You can have it for travel, for weddings, food you want to eat, bookstores you want to go to, plants you want to buy. It could be anything. You just make a really, really big list and write down everything you want to do. Maybe put a checkbox to it, or highlight it or scratch it out when you've accomplished it. I enjoy making my lists as well. I typically put them in a different notebook, but you could have a notebook dedicated wholly to your bucket lists if that's your thing and if that's something that you really enjoy. Alright, and then the 13th idea for how to fill a notebook is by creating trackers. And by trackers, I mean habit trackers, mood trackers, food trackers, exercise trackers, you name it. A lot of this can be put in your bullet journal as well if you enjoy that, or you can have a totally separate notebook for tracking. I know that a lot of people like their own separate journal for tracking mood or like mental health, or even a separate tracker for like a separate journal for food and exercise, because having them as their own thing kind of makes it more personal and it makes it easier to go back and review your progress. Trackers are, again, a great way to reflect and to grow as a person, so I highly recommend making them. I do have 2 videos about habit trackers. One is a video I made about making a simple habit tracker. Another one is like 4 different ideas of how to make trackers, but I will leave those down as a link down in the description box below if you want to see them. But again, it's kind of open-ended and you can make your tracker however you want, and I think that it's a great way, again, to gauge your progress. Alright, well, thank you guys for watching today's video. I hope that it was super informative and that you found some kind of value to it, or are inspired to fill an empty notebook with one of these methods. Please let me know down in the comments below which one you like best and what you're looking forward to, and if you have any video recommendations that you would like to see me talk about regarding maybe dream diaries or free journaling, journal prompts, all of that. So anyway, thank you again, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.